Stay tuned for the end of this video where I provide an update regarding my Patreon. Or you can just skip forward until you get there. You do you. Alright, so hello. Okay, so there's two stories in this. So the first story mainly being the story that I'm actually editing right now, because I'm editing the space audio, which is the second video in the space audio series originally inspired by Mass Effect. So if you haven't seen my gameplay of that in its terrible glory, it's on my channel. The second story is that I originally wanted to stream this. I wanted to stream like a edit with me, or some kind of like, you know, the stream doesn't end till the audio's done kind of thing, so that I can get myself to sit and edit. And last weekend, which was the weekend of like, what is it? Like the 17th or whatever. Well, I got a cold, and I thought, oh, well, maybe it was a 4-day weekend too, so maybe it would go away by the time I wanted to record. So maybe on the Monday off that I had, I would do the stream then. But I was a mess because of the cold. And so now this weekend, which is like Saturday the 24th that I'm recording this, I was like, okay, so then maybe if my voice comes back by Saturday, then I'll do the stream. And so today is Saturday and my voice is kind of back, but I still feel the cold in my voice. So I decided not to stream it and decided to just record it and then just chop it up and make it like a second behind the scenes video that I made, which I've made before. But yeah, and so you're probably not going to see the full version of this. It's probably going to be edited, but I did want to talk about at least this audio in particular and offer some more insight into it. This should go up either after the audio is up, or around the same time. So if you don't want spoilers, I would say check out the audio first and then come back and watch this video. But I'm just going to be editing this. I recorded this like forever ago, and then again, that 4-day weekend would have been the perfect time to record more stuff because I'd have more days off. And then I got my cold, and so it was really not productive of a weekend, besides just getting through my cold. But it's kind of back now. A bit of background for this audio. So the first one, what the heck was it called? I literally have to look it up on my phone because I can't remember what my own videos are called. It was back in 2 months ago. Yeah, in December. Wow. I had an audio called Ice and Steel. It's a prologue where I kind of reused a audio that I published on Reddit and decided to repurpose it for this story and make it a sort of a prologue. And so in it, a character that I have, which she's nameless in that audio, she picks up someone frozen out in space. And it turns out they could be in really big trouble. And could definitely put her in danger for picking up this person who is probably someone who did something really, really bad. Without spoiling too much, you maybe want to give it a rewatch or re-listen. And so this audio takes place a little bit after, and so we still have our same character, and the listener character is still the same listener as that audio, but it's not exactly as it seems. Unless the whole dang thing. Yeah, this is why I make the reminder of like, don't watch this if you haven't listened to the actual audio, because I guess for me it definitely ruins it, because then I only just hear these instances and I ignore what's going on in the story.
Just looking around when you're a wanted criminal isn't the smartest of choices.
It's good enough. I'm just pretending it's not there.
You're not supposed to be anywhere near.
Ooh, I heard that. And I intentionally fixed my OBS so that you could hear these little things and suffer with me.
You're not supposed to be anywhere near this quadrant.
Trying not to overthink it. Because people don't notice these things. I have not received a single comment of someone complaining about
You're not
this
supposed
stuff.
to be anywhere near this quadrant. You should leave.
But I hear it. And then I need to take a photo of how my hand is like in this position almost the entire time. Right on the S, and then ready on the to switch between C and V. And it's not comfortable, but it's like on standby. That's literally how my hand stays stuck the whole time. Maybe I put a photo up so you could see. I also didn't paint my nails. But I'm always control S-ing non-stop for every little thing I do. Because you never know. You never know. 5 lines in. The script is 3 pages. And I only do like 1.5 spacing, so it's a lot. Because my character speaks a lot in this one. It's technically very short. But it's setting up some big stuff. Which, if you listen to the audio already, you'll see.
So what about you?
Yeah. I was gonna address the listener, but technically the listener will get a name. In the next one. Once that one's done.
Look, I know we have our little cat and mouse game, but I'm not in the mood for games today. I've got a lot of people waiting on this case. If you know something, I really need it.
Alright, so if you haven't picked up already in the dialogue, my character is a detective. A space detective.
Look, I know.
And our listener friend, aka you guys, are criminals.
Look, I know we have our little cat and mouse game, but I'm not in the mood for games today.
Oh, just leave that there.
Once a lawsuit from larger planets came knocking, the home planet Zara leadership...
Oh, it's because I made up the name planet right out that spot because I didn't have it. And I was already going to get confused of like, we're on a moon. But this moon orbits a larger planet. And so the moon is more like a little outpost, like a... Well, I mean, it's a moon, but it's one that that planet also terraformed, but it was being mined. And so ultimately they were creating counterfeit metals that would be valuable when they're sold off elsewhere. But yeah, it was not a good moon. But now I gotta check where the heck I messed up.
Once a lawsuit from larger planets...
Okay, so I had to commit to, now this planet was called Zara, but the moon is nameless.
Well, what I know is old business. A major sweatshop operated on the dark side of this moon 40 years ago. The leadership's been completely replaced, sure, but few families have been compensated. Well, where I come in...
Yeah, so we're investigating this big cover-up on behalf of the families of those fresh settlers who were taken advantage of and exploited, and ultimately likely just erased with the evidence of this fake operation that the planet Zara was operating on this moon.
Buried people and evidence. The leadership's been completely replaced, sure, but few families have been compensated.
Yeah, so Zara as a planet is still operating. It's just, they got taken care of by the major federation, so like the major government. But they kind of prioritized just the wrongdoing. They didn't really prioritize the settlers because the settlers came from like all over the different systems or all over the different planets. So for them to go the extra mile of like tracking down all these settlers, like families, because a lot of them likely were breadwinners. I think later on I might speak that a lot of them were, I don't want to say like ancestors, but they were like likely the males of the family going out to, either work on these different planet systems and hopefully earn citizenship or earn a passage for their families to then follow and hopefully settle on this better planet. But like I mentioned here, they were trying to settle on the planet Zara, took on this job of like, hey, work on this mine on this moon and you might earn enough to actually bring your whole family over. And so they did, not realizing that they were working for an operation that was creating counterfeit metals versus like, proclaiming that they were selling these legit metals to other planets when this moon probably wasn't actually being able to produce that much, because it's a moon. It's not really something that's alive to produce any new material. So they must have mined out a lot of the original metals, ran short, but created this long, I would say, like customer list of people expecting these metals. And so they decided to take what they had and start creating fake ones. And so they were still mining materials on this moon, but it's likely not the same material as before, but it was still being used to create these counterfeits. Because it's mostly just like I don't want to say like a missing persons case, but a case where we're just looking for who the victims were. And there likely maybe was settlement funds, but they might have prioritized citizens of Zara first because, they're from there, so they're easier to find. But they were still mixed in settlers from outside of Zara, and those are the ones that are probably likely left out of the major settlement funding, which I assume there might still be some. But it still takes, someone to do all the dirty work of having to actually dig up records of these people and find who their families are so that they can receive the compensation for their missing relative. This is like not recent either, so it's something that the Major Federation would have just been like, it's not a priority. But our detective here thinks otherwise.
Well, where I come in...
So likely... Oops. I'm editing that out. Okay, so I had to pause for a second because I needed to take a small break. So according to this recording, it's been about 48 minutes. And we have about 2 minutes. 2 minutes of finalized dialogue. So again, this is not even including like special effects being added in or ambiance and stuff like that. So this is crazy. But again, just figuring. Anyway, well, so what was I saying? Oh, I think I might have mentioned about how I don't really know how it fully works, even though I wrote this thing, but I only wrote enough to kind of just get the rules of the world semi-consistent and how they affect our main characters, being my character and the listener character. This character, which I'll get into a little bit about what inspired this story, because it's a combination of things. I'm never really inspired by just one thing, but mashing together concepts and ideas I like from different things. But I feel like once I say it, it's either it's well, that doesn't actually match up, or it's I'm not embarrassed by it, but maybe it's not actually fitting that as an inspiration. Oh no, I see gardeners pulling up to our front neighbor's yard. Honestly, if they start and it gets too loud, I'm gonna pause and just either only post this part or just record a different time. It's the best free time I had. I see them backing up. Yeah, they're settling down a little bit. Oh, everybody. And I didn't even get my gardening done. I have a lot of yard work to do, but I was gonna do that tomorrow. Oh. Yeah, I'll make it that. Well, I'll just say that she's sad. Because it sucks. She's an actual, detective, actually wants to do good. And even if that means kind of just... She has to keep her head down, obviously, because the Federation's huge. It's a multi-system, government. And so this is, far into the future, far out in space. There's very little, real similarity between our current world and this one, but there are some systems at play, and you have people in it just trying to do their best. And so this character is definitely one who understands the position that she's in as someone who does work for and enact things on behalf of this major system. Lawnmower across the street has started now. You know what? I'll just keep going because I specifically worked on my OBS settings so that hopefully won't catch that stuff, but you still catch me. So I'm just gonna keep going because whatever. But anyway, to interrupt my little story, she does work for what's known as the Federation. She is a space detective. She takes on various cases as usual, but sometimes she will go the extra mile to, take on the cases that the Federation has largely abandoned. So maybe when I was recording this, I was trying to evoke that. Like any principles that the Federation claims to, work under and operate under, the space detective actually embodies them. And it's not to say that she's the only one, but she's definitely the one that we're following. And she knows that the Federation could be better. And it's not. But at the very least, they don't get in the way that much. As long as you're kind of demonstrating that you're productive and you're getting stuff done, you can kind of be left alone to do your own thing, as long as you're not, like, obviously violating, what your role is in society. Sorry, I'm just hearing the lawnmower, and it's one of those big ones that you ride and Anyway, but yeah, that's kind of like where this story is. So
settlers came from all over the system.
Hopefully I do write and express it that way. So yeah,
retrieving and combing this list has been a low priority.
They're going to show that, this is a sad story that she's trying to look into. It could be fruitless. It could result in nothing. But we will allude to a few more things as to this space detective and this listener's relationship. I don't know how to. Maybe I'll just say it here, and hopefully it's picked up in the actual audios when you listen to them there by themselves. There's a big gap in time between the prologue and this audio, and these are the same characters, but there's a little bit of dishonesty going on in the prologue, so it depends on when you catch it before later story reveals what's really going on here.
Retrieving and combing this list has been a low priority,
and it does pull from the secondary thing that inspired this audio, because like I mentioned, Mass Effect was the first inspiration because I really wanted to do something spacey and I really wanted to play the game. But I wanted to combine it with something else where there's two leads that are featured that have this relationship that goes back farther than one of them realizes. And it's this show called Heaven Official's Blessing. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it. And so having watched it and just really enjoyed the two leads, I really like that dynamic that is kind of teased where, they both encounter each other, but only one is really aware of just how much they've encountered each other and how one of them knows more about the other than the other realizes. But they're still connecting anyway. And I don't know anything besides what's been in the show, so no spoilers please. But I wanted to try to pull that. And so for the two leads, Shalian is this immortal heavenly official. And so that's who my space detective is a little bit inspired by. I say a little bit in terms of between those two characters and their dynamics. That's who she is. And so our listener character is Hua Chung, or the Crimson Rain Sought Flowers. I can't remember what his full name actually is, but he goes by Hua Chung, or he's called Sang Lang, and I might have mispronounced those, I'm sorry, but that is the listener character. So that's kind of the dynamic I was going for here, where the listener character technically knows a little bit more than what the space detective character knows. That's as far as I'll go. But if you look into that story, and then obviously if I upload these in a consistent manner, you'll see how that inspiration kind of plays out a little bit here. So it's kind of Mass Effect meets Heaven Official's Blessing, with my own spin on it, I suppose. But yeah.
Priority.
So this is the listener, because again, the listener is, I don't know if we say anti-Federation, but definitely not. Earlier they are identified as a wanted criminal, and I might accidentally say he when addressing listener, but it's because technically the inspiration is a male. So, but I like keeping it F for A when possible.
Yes, you're right. The Federation doesn't care about its people.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to keep digging around this abandoned moon. I don't think it's that big, but at least like the main area that she might be in is pretty large, maybe the size of a football field or longer. I don't know. Visually, I can't really demonstrate where she's at, but yeah, you can have to like fill in the blanks from there.
That's where I'm headed next.
You kind of envision like if you've seen anything that takes place in space, like some base, something that looks like that. Like in my head, I picture like the covers of the books, the Murderbot diaries. I love those so much. But the way that those covers look like, the way that art is, it's like very like, it's all like brownish grayish, but it looks dirty and it looks old because it's still like out in space and like in these like different planets. But that's kind of what I visualize for this scene. Like we're inside like this office of this like really old mining outpost place, I suppose. And you can envision it looking old and rusty and dirty. It's dark because like there's no real light anymore. There could be still like old like electric generators or something because they could be solar powered from, I don't know, the nearest sun in this system. But like she mentions before, they're on the dark side of the moon, so, or at least close to it, I suppose, because they definitely blew it up to hide their evidence of the counterfeit metals. But I think there could be just some different light sources, or maybe the planet itself could be a light source, since like even from like the moon you can still see the glow of Earth and stuff. We also have our sun like before, so I think just maybe imagine that lighting up places.
That's where I'm headed next.
Alright, so we'll leave that be. I could have acted more shocked maybe, but oh well.
The Syndicate. The Epsilon Syndicate?
The Syndicate. Like, did I hear you right?
The Syndicate. The Epsilons?
And then like, I think once it's hitting, they're like, oh, what other one could you mean?
The Syndicate. The Epsilon Syndicate?
Yeah.
You're part of them? Since when?
Yeah, so, if you caught earlier, the Space Detective has a file on our listener. Our listener is a wanted criminal.
Why are they all the way out here?
And so, obviously under investigation, but again, the Federation spans like multiple like planet systems, so there's only really so much they're gonna worry about. And so our criminal here, who is yet to be named, I already have a name, but it's not out yet. Ideally, they worked solo.
I came across your meeting spot?
It's like I'm the problem. I'm just doing my job. Can't say it's my fault.
I just...
it sounds okay. I'll let it go. I have bigger fish to fry. Oh, I don't know if you can see how this forms up here. Like the more I try to erase it, you see how big and bright it gets? What is that? What is that? So, let me just undo. Oh gosh. And then let me see if I could just quietly delete it without it being a problem. Oh. It doesn't produce a sound. But you saw how big it got. It's just there. But oh man.
I just thought you were always...
Okay, back to my little Healy tool. Yeah. How long is this recording going on? An hour and a half. And we have about 3.5 minutes done.
Running will make things worse.
Yeah, this is the Syndicate. It's one of many, like I might say, but it's still very powerful. Where am I in the script? Oh, we're about halfway through the script. So it's like, yeah, it's just like this super loose, very lazy kind of cat and mouse game. She's not like actively chasing listener, but it's always just kind of like coincidental that listener's always around doing some crime stuff when she's nearby. But I think maybe it is slightly noticeable how often they cross paths, and yet she's still not bringing this person in. Sorry, I keep defaulting to male because of the inspiration for this character. Ignore that.
Well, not worse, but it definitely...
Yeah. And I think I was definitely tying into back to Heaven Official's Blessing, where again, I'm gonna say these names and I'm probably saying them wrong, I'm sorry, but Shilian and Hua Chung, like how they do cross paths a lot, and there's reasons for that. But the Heaven Officials area, like they're just noticing that you're always hanging out with this dude. He's a bad person. Why do you keep associating with this person? And obviously Shilian like sees more to it, like, you know, they're not an actual bad person. They're just under bad circumstances. And so I kind of wanted that feel that, at least for the space detective, she might have received those comments about how like you're just always near this criminal. So it depends.
Well, not worse, but it definitely gets harder to explain how I know you and why I can't seem to catch you.
There definitely has to be a bit of a longer pause here to kind of just like cut to us being outside on this moon. And let's just say there is oxygen so that way I don't have to like, I don't want to do a filter of like being through like a helmet or needing a spacesuit or something, or maybe there is a spacesuit but like they still just sound really clear. So let's just say that. Maybe I'll call these chapters because I really wish I had the brain energy to like write this as a book, but it's much more funner bringing this to life and having people experience it right away than waiting for me to write a book that I never really finish.
Your help has gone a long way, believe me, but it doesn't...
Your help has gone a long way, believe me. So, back to Heaven Officials again. While Shilian is usually like on some sort of case of, you know, investigating something, Hua Chung usually does involve himself a little bit, and even though his interest is mainly Shilian, but you know, if he needs help with something, even if it's like doing good because like the Heaven Officials ordain it so or whatever, he's still gonna help. So that's kind of what happens here. Like they might come across each other where either the space detective is doing something or listener is doing something, and space detective might need some help a little bit, and listener of course is interested in her a little bit, so listener does help.
Your help has gone a long way, believe me.
So there could be cases that space detective has that wouldn't have been solved if not for our listener / wanted criminal friend.
Your loud voice might trigger something.
And that's the end of the audio. Let me put one here that footsteps, and I'll specify that it's footsteps, like they reach solid ground. Fade. I'm here. Oh, this is very short audio. Okay. Alright, I'm tired. So let's see what this... Okay, this recording ended up being 2.5 hours. And almost non-stop. I took a small break of like just a few minutes to go to the bathroom. It took me 2.5 hours to edit 5.5 minutes. And so I have my markers here for special effects. But I would say, technically speaking, the hardest part is over. We have officially finished this dialogue. Okay, so I'll just stop here and then I'll just see... I'll take a break from the computer, obviously, because sitting here for 2.5 hours is not good. But I will definitely stop here and I will edit this down and keep all the main parts of like explaining the story and other small little features that I definitely want you guys to see. And yeah, so this should be uploaded the same time as the audio, so hopefully definitely before the month actually ends. So it's still technically a February audio. But after all that, you know, if you feel like you enjoyed this, you know, go ahead and subscribe if you want to, if you like audio role plays and like seeing behind the scenes stuff. If you have any questions about the story or lore, I might not answer everything because it might be a spoiler, but if you do, leave them in the comments. And I guess that's about it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for checking this out, and hope you have a good rest of your day, night, evening, morning, whatever time you're watching this. Bye bye. Okay. Alright. So hello, editor Anita here. I didn't get a chance to say this while I recorded the behind the scenes video you just watched back in February. The edited version of this video will be on YouTube. However, I still have a 2.5 hour video recording saved. So I'm deciding to put up raw, unedited recordings of my editing process on my Patreon for the lowest tier, the listener tier, and up. These editing process videos will not be necessary to enjoy the final audios you see on YouTube. I'm just trying to make use of the Patreon somehow to justify still having it. And if you want to support the channel, that's another way you can if you want. If it's an audio that I definitely want listeners to understand the full context of, like lore and such, I will definitely edit down an explainer video the way this one exists. These edited explainer videos will likely be reserved for my original stuff, not every audio I record, such as script fills from other writers. You're not missing out on anything important if you don't see the Patreon videos. It's just little extra things that aren't necessary for the audio but are there because they're there. But yeah, that's it. Check out the Patreon below. I'm trying to kickstart that thing, so a work in progress. But yeah, I appreciate it, and yeah, thank you for your time.